Product review strategies have changed a lot the past 3 years on Amazon. Today's guest will tell us how to get more product reviews while staying compliant. My name is Stephen Pope, and I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy. This is the My Amazon Guy podcast. So I'm now joined by Colleen Quattlebaum, and she's the marketing manager with eComEngine. Did I say that right?
You sure did.
Perfect.
Hey, everybody.
I was so worried about that. All right. Well, cool. So I'm excited to have you on. So before we talk about how to generate more product reviews, because I know that's what my listeners are going to care about, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are and who you represent?
Sure. So again, my name is Colleen Quattlebaum. I'm a marketing and business development manager at eComEngine. And eComEngine's been around since 2007. So for those of you in the Amazon and e-commerce industry, you've probably heard of our flagship tool, which is FeedbackFive. So we provide a whole suite of software services to Amazon sellers. But FeedbackFive is a reputation management tool to help manage feedback and reviews. We have an FBA management tool for inventory management called Restock Pro, a sourcing tool for Amazon sellers looking to find products to sell in FBA, and that's called Market Scout, as well as a new pricing tool called Smart Price. So a whole
lots
suite
of tools,
software
lots
tools,
and lots of tools.
Right. So, but we've been around for about 12 or 13 years, and my job is really just to bring as much educational, valuable information to Amazon sellers. So I speak with a lot of sellers on a daily basis, our customers and other sellers, as well as thought leaders like you. So.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. So we're going to be talking today about product reviews. So big first question, kind of hard to answer concisely. So we'll kind of dissect this today, of course. But how do you generate more product reviews on Amazon? I want to get those reviews up so I get more sales, of course. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So it's definitely challenging. There's many different ways that you can get reviews, and my biggest advice is to do it in a white hat way that follows Amazon terms of service. Always follow the rules. There's a lot of black hat tactics out there, but the good guy always wins in the long run. So it's just not worth risking your business to follow any black hat tactics. So there's several different ways that Amazon has actually some approved programs that you can use. The early reviewer program if you're launching a new product. Amazon Vine is also another great program that Amazon has out there. It's temporarily on hiatus right now, just as of 2 weeks ago, based on the current state of the pandemic. So once that opens back up, though, that's another great program to use.
Do you have any insight on that, by the way? I'm not sure why they closed it. I couldn't figure it out.
Right around March 17th, it looks like it went. It's been closed. I think mainly just because they're focusing on, just everything in the state of the pandemic, focusing on really the essentials.
Sure.
So if somebody's registering a brand and trying to, join the Vine program right now, that's just not a priority for them if it's not an essential item.
So Amazon Vine came out of the woodwork, I don't know, a couple months ago. We had almost unlimited access to it for like a solid month. And then all of a sudden, just one magic day, this was preceding the COVID-19 stuff, the March announcement. All of our brands who hadn't had access at that stage couldn't gain access. So I didn't know if like the Vine program was just like overwhelmed or something, but did you notice anything, before the COVID-19?
No, that's right around mid-March is when we started to hear that some sellers were, not able to enroll. But you're exactly right. It was only open to vendors for years, up until about December 19th, 2019. It quietly rolled out to all sellers.
Which is what always happens, right? They like quietly roll things out. They never send announcements. So like I swear I spend at least 15 to 20 minutes a day just clicking on every link within Seller Central, trying to figure out what other UI changes have happened. And without fail, 2 or 3 times a week we find something, right? Like last week there was 2 and going on 3 advertising changes, right? They rolled out 2 new display functions. There's like the really cool one, by the way, I thought was the custom image for brand headlines. I thought that, that's the biggest ad space you could take on Amazon, let alone on the entire web. And it takes up like half your mobile screen. So like we've never seen that much real estate get taken. Amazon didn't even send an email out on that for like, I don't even think they have yet. I don't know if you've noticed one or not, but.
No, I haven't seen any communication on that. There is a tool called Wachete. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's WACHETE. And it's a great tool where you can just basically any website that you want to follow any changes that they have. So Seller Central is one that if you want to, sign up for alerts anytime they make a change, it'll show you kind of the before and after of what they've done on that page. So anytime that there's a change, you'll be alerted, so you don't have to constantly scour the page.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. How do you spell that one more time?
WACHETE.
We'll put a link in that for our description for our listeners, but I had missed it the first time, so that's why I had to get it. All right, so I look at that. Nice tool. I actually haven't heard of that. I thought about the Wayback Machine. That kind of throws me back a bit, but I'm sure that tool's got some additional
Right. This one will give you alerts. So each day you get alerts on the sites that you're managing or taking a look at. So.
Nice. So speaking of other random changes that have recently happened, I noticed that they got rid of the ability to upload photos on product reviews. Has that come across your radar at all?
Well, I think Amazon's doing a lot of different things to make it easier for the consumer to leave a review. For instance, they don't have to actually comment on their review.
That's a new change too, yeah.
Right. So they can just choose the star rating. So they're just making it as easy as possible so that, consumers can leave a review with it taking minimal time. I think people are more likely to leave a review if it takes minimal time. I know that on the back end for the sellers, that's frustrating because you can get a review and not know why they loved it or why they hated it. So there's pros and cons. But
Absolutely.
Amazon, is very customer centric, customer focused. So, their obsession is making sure that the consumer is happy.
So speaking of negative reviews, should sellers respond to those, in your opinion?
Absolutely. I think that it really helps for you to comment publicly in line to those reviews. It helps to show that you care about your brand, you stand behind your products, or that you're willing to make it right. And it's just helps the trustworthiness and reliability of your brand. Acknowledge or take accountability if something's not working properly. It gives somebody else, a potential buyer who's considering to purchase that product, they see that you're actively, making sure that things are right and giving them more confidence to buy that product if there is a negative review. Of course, with negative reviews, that you can't ask somebody to remove or update their review like you can with feedback. So with feedback, if you respond, you need to respond quickly. And if you make it right, then you can, and satisfy that customer. You can certainly ask them to update or remove that feedback.
So one thing that rolled out less than 2 weeks ago, I think, was on the seller app. You now can actually see customer reviews right there. So for those that are watching on YouTube, I'm pulling up on screen. You can see a section for customer reviews. I think that was 3 years too late. I feel like they could have rolled that out so long ago, right? But there are tools that do send email alerts, and I know you have one of them. So feel free to plug that here. If somebody wants to get alerted when they get a negative review, what tool do you have that helps with that?
Certainly. FeedbackFive will send alerts for negative reviews and negative feedback. So, and of course, the bonus of getting that alert is that you find out right away so that you can respond right away. So just like anything, I mean, the sooner that you handle a customer service issue or, a product issue, the sooner you can make it right, satisfy the customer, or even pull that product from the shelf, for instance, if you find out that there's something major, wrong with it. And maybe even you decide not to ask for reviews on that ASIN anymore if it's defective while you're trying to pull it from the shelf. So just, the sooner you can find out about that, the better. But FeedbackFive, you can either sign up for text alerts, mobile, or email alerts. You can choose the time of day that you receive those alerts so you're not getting interrupted at 2 a.m. And you can also just choose to have a daily digest, like just once a day, here's all the negative reviews or feedback that you've received on everything. So a couple different options there.
And one last question on the negative reviews. So the question of how much value is it into trying to engage them, right? So like, what do you think the percentage of, hey, I engaged the consumer to try and get this removed versus what I actually got removed is? Does that make sense?
Right. So again, negative feedback can be removed, but negative reviews, you cannot ask them to remove that. So even when you respond in line to a negative review, that consumer is not necessarily aware that you even responded to them. That's more for other potential buyers to see that you acknowledged their comment.
So I'm glad you delineated there. My question, the heart of my question was in, engaging the product review for a consumer and then like reaching out to them directly,
Okay.
or even say their seller review and reaching out to them directly. What do you think that the customer response is to engaging with the seller to, once we've made it right for them, to go back in and change it, in your opinion?
I don't know what the percentage is there of,
Sure.
the
I thought
likelihood of for them to update it or change it. I think, if you've made the customer satisfied, you've made it right, you've had really good customer service throughout that process, then they're more likely to update it and change it. And the sooner you respond.
so
But
I want to put my finger in the air and say it's somewhere between 20 and 25%. So the
yeah, I'd say it's
reason
pretty low,
it's
maybe
pretty
even lower than
it
that.
could be. It could
Yeah.
be. So the reason why the public response is so important because of that is because it's not necessarily going to make it so that the customer removes their feedback. It's more so that the customer who hasn't bought yet that comes across that negative review inevitably, they're going to be more comfortable to know, hey, this seller backs up their product. Obviously, not everybody's going to be 100% pleased all the time, but we know that they responded here, so we trust them. So it's a trust signal, in my opinion.
Correct. I agree.
So all right. So let's pivot to COVID-19. How have you been seeing coronavirus impact reviews in the current environment right now?
Yeah, so obviously, unprecedented times for sure. And it's impacting all aspects of everybody's life, and especially, Amazon sellers and business owners. And, many are seeing fewer sales, which also means fewer reviews. When you have fewer orders and fewer sales, that's fewer opportunities to get reviews. Um, I think that feedback is more important to focus on in a way right now because so many sellers are shifting from FBA to FBM with the recent announcement of Amazon temporarily disabling the shipment creation for products other than those essential items and high demand products. So those that can't send items to FBA right now are looking to do merchant fulfilled. And when they do that, they're the ones shipping, packaging the item, and sending it off. So making sure that you're on time shipping, that your customer response time, the overall customer experience, including the shipping and packaging, is related to your feedback, not the product review. So if you're merchant fulfilled now and that's a new process for you, just really, pay close attention to your feedback because, you could get negative feedback in these times where, maybe things aren't shipping on time. Maybe, you're using new packaging now that you're sending it off yourself instead of FBA. So just pay close attention to negative feedback, I would say. Um, yeah.
So I would second everything you mentioned, Colleen. And there's a difficulty in managing customer expectations right now because they don't necessarily, not all of them are paying attention to that ship time frame. And even FBA and merchant fulfilled orders are absolutely being impacted. The supply chain's kind of in haywire right now. I do foresee this starting to ease. I feel like I think Friday, in my opinion, was kind of a slight turning point for Amazon. Maybe it'll fluctuate, maybe it'll get worse and get better and kind of float back and forth. I don't know. But they did ease some of their inbound shipping constraints, which I thought was a promising sign. And hopefully when April 5th rolls around, we'll see everybody get back open to inbound shipments. But I agree, it's been a massive dash to try and get merchant fulfilled. And at the same time, they temporarily turned off SFP applications. So if you couldn't get Prime on your SFP or your merchant fulfilled if you wanted, but even still, that's not necessarily a program I recommend to very many sellers. It's very difficult to manage. Shipping time and constraints, getting the orders out the door and whatnot. Okay, cool. So what do you think? You mentioned some compliance and white hat tactics. So what do you think the most effective way is to generate reviews while staying compliant? And is there anything you can do more than just running the Amazon approved programs like Early Reviewer and Vine that you mentioned?
Sure. Right now, so the safest way to request reviews is using Amazon's Request a Review button that they just launched at the end of last year. That's in Seller Central on the orders page. It's a little gray button and it literally says Request a Review. So this is a message that is sent directly from Amazon to your buyers. And so it's 100% compliant because Amazon is actually the one sending that message. And they've optimized the message to hopefully get good results. It does ask for both a product review and feedback in the message. Another benefit is that it is automatically translated into the language of choice. So the buyer in their Amazon account settings has their preferred language set. So it's automatically translated for them. This is sent when you hit the review button. It can only be sent between 4 and 30 days after the order has been delivered. And you can't customize the message in any way like you can with buyer-seller messaging, but it is the safest way since the message is going directly from Amazon to the buyer. The downside of this is that it's a very manual process to go in and do it for each order that you want to request a review on. So FeedbackFive has actually automated that button. We've worked very closely with Amazon here at eComEngine over the last few months to have that process automated. So in FeedbackFive, you can do your typical buyer-seller messaging emails if you prefer to go that way, or the new route is using the request a review button and automating that and choosing the time and which ASINs that you want to send that for. So that's a brand new feature in FeedbackFive. A lot of sellers, especially if they've been restricted from buyer-seller messaging, they can use this new request a review feature.
So I've heard a lot of buzz about your rollout on this tool, and a lot of people are talking about it. For those that haven't engaged your product yet, let's talk a little bit about the manual part first. So,
Sure.
so if I'm in my manage orders section on Amazon right now, how do I get to the manual component?
So if you go to the order details page, I believe it's up in the top left corner. It says request a review, little gray button.
Do you have to go into the actual order to make it happen?
Yes, you have to go into the actual order. So you go into each individual order.
And then you mentioned you have to do it during between day 4 and 30.
Correct, after the order has been
Got
delivered.
Got it. All right. So I'm going to pull one up on screen here. So on screen, I've got an order, and this is in the order details. This went out 2 weeks ago. And in the top right here, you can see request a review. So if you click that, it pulls up. We don't require you to request reviews because our system already do that at no cost to you. However, if you prefer a request a review for this order, please use this feature instead of using the customer via email or seller messaging. So it does seem like they're trying to signal users to do that. So that's really interesting.
They are definitely encouraging sellers to use this route. So, and we're still actually evaluating the data to figure out the performance of this. Our tool has had this for about a month now. So we're still evaluating the data on, how well this is working, but we're seeing pretty good results. But again, it's fairly new. But since Amazon is pushing sellers to this, we want to make sure that we can support that in an automated way. So to make everybody's life a little bit easier.
Makes perfect sense. So let's talk about your tool now. So does the tool have, so like right now with Corona, I'm thinking to myself, man, some of my customers might leave a more negative review because the item's not shipping in 2-day prime. Should I be engaging it right now, or is there any filters within your tool to specify ship timeframes, anything like that?
So in the tool, you can specify the time that it's sent, and as far as the time of day and which ASINs, and if you want to exclude refunded orders. So there are a few different options. You can't customize the message, but you can customize the timing of it and which ASINs you're asking for reviews on.
Got it.
Certainly right now, there's just a lot of unknown. People, are certainly stressed out, but they also probably are very grateful for the fact that they can purchase these items on Amazon and not have to go out to the store. So, some people have a little more time on their hands. It's hard to say. Is that going to lead to getting more reviews at this time if they're grateful and and they understand that there's small businesses out there that need our help, or are they stressed and more likely to leave negative review or feedback? I don't know. It's hard to say. So, but I think that you want to come out of this stronger. So asking for reviews is important. It's a small percentage of people that do leave feedback and leave reviews. So just always asking is always what I recommend, because it can take 100 requests to get 10 or 15 reviews, sometimes even less, depending on your product. So if you have a really good product, then about 10% of your emails should lead to a product review.
That's probably a higher percentage than I would have guessed, but you're very close to that data, so I believe you. It sometimes feels like if I didn't ask, it'd be like 1 out of 100 would leave a review, and when I do ask, it doubles to like 2 out of 100. But you're probably right. There's probably more than that. I just a little skeptical.
Yeah, and a lot of it depends on the product.
Probably
sure.
does.
So,
yeah,
and the message that with buyer seller messaging, if you do a lot of A/B testing on your subject lines, in the past that has worked well. You're getting to the point where you can find a good ratio of people leaving a review. With the request a review button, of course, you can't change that message, but Amazon has taken a look at the message, they've optimized it, and they claim that this is the right message to send to customers. But again, we're still taking a look at that since it's fairly new.
So it is fairly new, but you've made some assumptions. I'm sure that you think that this is the future of review generation. What other insights do you have?
Yeah, so this, I mean, definitely the future of review generation. Buyer seller messaging is still okay. That's still allowed. But there has been, a lot of talk in seller forums and other places that could be going away. A lot of sellers have been suspended or restricted because of verbiage in buyer seller messaging. Amazon terms of service can be very confusing.
Very.
And so, when you're in control of your own message, that can be good, but it also can be bad because depending on which Amazon rep you speak to or which Amazon rep reviews your email, they could interpret the way that you wrote a sentence in your email differently than a different rep, and they could choose to suspend you. So it seems that there's been a lot of mixed signals as to what you can and can't say in an email through buyer seller messaging. So you're just at a little bit more risk if you choose to use buyer seller messaging. So request a review button is certainly the safest way to go.
Makes a lot of sense, and so as we kind of look down the pipeline, what other, it's always difficult to put your finger in the air and say I think this is going to happen next on Amazon, because nobody really knows. Nobody at Amazon probably even knows. But like, what other things do you, if you had to put your finger in the air and guess and say, hey, I think this might change on Amazon, or what else do you think might be coming down the pipeline?
Well, I mean, the early reviewer and Amazon Vine programs, both of those, for instance, you have to be enrolled in brand registry in order to do those programs. So I think any other programs that they roll out, get your items enrolled in brand registry. That seems to be another big thing that, any program that they roll out, they want the products enrolled in brand registry.
Why do you think that is?
I think because of just all of the, the black hat bad actors, the products that are fake that are out there, and it just leads to a bad impression of using Amazon to purchase items if you're a consumer, not knowing if you're going to get the real Nike shoes or the fake Nike shoes, for instance.
And
So making sure that they're registered and it's truly just the brand owner selling that.
And it's interesting to note. So I feel like Amazon has kind of been a little bit of a brand killer in the past decade, right? So Jeff Bezos is famous for saying, "Your margin's my opportunity." And so this marketplace has been a race to the bottom of prices going lower and lower. Not price gouging, as I was about to fumble into. And so we've seen, unless you're a luxury brand, if you quizzed 100 people, what was the name of the brand you bought your item from, random widget, gadget, if you will, nobody could answer that question.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, and I think having that trademark sets you apart from the black hat stuff, and that trademark allows you to get that brand registry within Amazon. So makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I also think just on the heels of, COVID-19 coming out of this, whether it's a few months or a year, whenever, I think that we're going to see more Amazon sellers out there. There's a lot of people furloughed, losing jobs, for instance, and they're looking for other ways to start a business. Or they're looking for other ways. If their brick and mortar retail shop shuts down, maybe they start selling stuff online. So I think that there could be some more sellers out there. So there's just going to be I think a lot will change. I also think a lot more people are going to be buying online than ever before because of the current state, and then the habits that people get in. People that were not Amazon shoppers before, are now shopping online, and then that becomes a new habit for them. And instead of going to the brick and mortar, they're more likely to buy online. So I think that in the end, there could be some positives for sellers.
I think there's tremendous amounts of positives. So we've had, I'd say 30% of our accounts that we manage at My Amazon Guy have had record weeks in sales, beating out Christmas Rush, beating out Prime Day week, all that good stuff. So there's a lot of high demand right now, and the average account right now is positive as well. Because of that increase in demand, people aren't able to go to the retail store; they have to shop online. So, if I look at the economy right now, I probably am a little bit pessimistic. I'm like, oh man, this is going to hurt for a while. We're going into a recession at least. But I think Amazon is recession proof. So I think if you're in Amazon right now, if you're selling on Amazon, it's a good place to be. And even if Amazon were to decrease, which we've not seen, by the way, we've seen record sales and big demands. But even if it was to decrease, it'd probably be the first sector to recover when the recovery came. So it's good to be positioned there, in my opinion, as well.
Yep. That's good insight. I agree.
I think your insight as well was pretty spot on. So, all right. So any last thoughts you want to share with our listeners before we end our podcast today?
No, I would just say stay safe and try to stay positive during this trying time. And, if you have a little bit of downtime here and there, if things do feel a little slow, optimize your listings, do those things where you can optimize your processes, so that in the end you can come out stronger. So.
Well, I appreciate that. And then to any of the listeners who are coming from the FeedbackFive crowd or for the Seller Engine crowd, My Amazon Guy, we're an 8-person agency based out of Georgia. We've got access to more than 100 Amazon accounts, 65 active clients, and we help sellers with anything they need for everything from advertising management to catalog management to A-plus content design and more. So if you need any help with that, go over to myamazonguy.com. Well, Colleen, thank you so much for joining us again. You guys have a great tool, a great set of tools that help Amazon sellers, and so we really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that was the My Amazon Guy podcast with Stephen Pope. I'm the founder. We hope you enjoyed our podcast today. Please feel free to subscribe. Our podcast is available on Apple, on Spotify, on iHeartRadio, and many other places. Thanks so much, guys.